Good morning. I'm back here. I took a break from doing my morning routine where I clean everything because a thought kept coming to my mind. You need to make an update. You need to make an update. So here I am. What is that update? Sorry, when you hear weird sounds, that's usually me playing with things with my hands just because I like to be doing something, but I'm not going to. Okay. What I want to make this is a giant, I can't say that word either. Okay, juglin tea, also called the longevity. Cute little play on words there. Anyway, what's all the hype? At first, I was drinking it, and I had such high expectations because I did my research. And I considered metformin, berberine, all the different things, and I settled on gynostema, I guess is how you say it. Anyway, so when I was taking the tea, I wanted to report the effects. Absolutely none. And I thought, oh great, I've fallen prey to another scam. But when I was thinking that, I had a really good idea. Not idea per se, but a thought came to me. It's like, well, you can't really ever make progress unless you make mistakes. So being scammed isn't such a bad thing. Just stop taking it. So I just stopped drinking it. I was like, okay. But then something kept drawing me back to do research, and I was researching. I was like, well, it's undeniable. It should have an effect. And I thought, well, maybe the reason why it's not having any effect on me is because I was assuming it to have an effect that it didn't have. And I was expecting it to be dramatic. So I bought it again, and I started taking it again. Now, what I know, now it helped me do a scientific study because effects that I thought were caused by it the first time, they weren't. And then when I took it the second time, the thing that instantly changed, it's something you don't want to know or anything, but I'll go ahead and make a note of it on here. But the reason why I think that I didn't think it worked for me, even though scientifically it should have, on the cellular level, if you do research yourself, you'll see the claims that people make. I wanted to find a study that proved statistically unwaveringly that it actually did affect people and how it affected them. And I wanted people's testimonials to be able to read, to understand the effects, because it didn't have any of the effects that I was expecting. Anyway, but if you look at it, it is an AMPK activator. And if you look at what that means and what it does, if you do a lot of research on it, you'll come to the same conclusion as I do. It's a great antibody. It helps fight against infection of any kind, and it helps your body have more oxygen. And it improves your heart and your circulation, everything. And the reason why I didn't notice any changes is because I'm not having a problem with low energy, so it's not necessarily going to boost. If I already have good supply of oxygen, if I'm already healthy, it's like when I was trying to lose weight, I would never lose weight, and I'd be like, why not? It's like what I wanted to be was unhealthy. And I was told that by several people. You're already way below weight for your height. You don't want to lose weight. And my grandmother told me, well, when I went through that, I wanted to be skinnier too, but it's not healthy. She says when I look at pictures of myself, because she lost a whole lot of weight when she was about my age, but it wasn't healthy. And my mom, I need to know her secret. She's just always been beautiful. She's never been. My dad has said that she is. He's commented things, and I've heard her, and there are things I worry about. But she's She has a different body shape and a different body type, so she doesn't have the problems I do. Neither do my sisters, because they take after her. They're all beautiful, and my grandmother was beautiful too, but I think the reason why my dad's mom was so beautiful too, and I think that because of my cooking. I've been trying to create knockoffs of wheat thins for my son, and you had to make a lot of batches of really bad things before you come up with something that's good. Okay, skip all the other analogies. Oh, I never did finish the thing about my grandmother. The thing I was going to say about her is she was a beautician, and other things, she was a really good cook. All I remember is that she was like the ultimate as far as a cook, and I wanted to be as good as her. She was always baking, and she was so good. And my mom told stories about how she wasn't good, and that's why. It's like when my mom was dating my dad, and they'd have to go to his house to get something to eat. She'd be like, "Oh no, let's not do that. Let's go to my house." Growing up, that grandma always bought foods that were bought at the store. She never made anything. I don't know. She made things when they were younger, and that's why they were so good. But everything was really good because it was store-bought. My other grandmother, the reason why she was such a good cook is probably because she was in experimental stages. And when people aren't good at something, that's when they become really good, because they're focused on why they're bad. Whereas people who are just naturally gifted at something and just do it, they don't know how, they just do it. So they're not learning as much. Just like me, there were things that I was really good at that I never worked at. And when I got sick and I wanted to be those things again, I was like, well, I couldn't teach myself how to, because I don't know what I did. I just did it. So, back to what I was saying. I felt bad because I was scammed. That's where I left off. Yeah. Being scammed is not a bad thing, because it makes us research and figure out why. Why was I taken advantage of? And it's really hard now to. I'm being bombarded all the time, and they talk about internet safety and security because, well, I've learned to use all this equipment that I never would have before, like sniffers and things like that, and things I've seen other people mention because I'm being targeted. And you could say, well, yeah, you're so gullible, or you're so trusting, you're just so naive. But the reason that I am being scammed and taken advantage of, not the reason, that was the wrong word choice, but as a result of that, I am becoming much more savvy and able to know how to handle it. Anyway, so back to this gynostema thing. So when I start taking it again, I don't really notice the effects because it's fixing something that wasn't broken. Give time for that to sink in. If you're trying to fix something that isn't broken, you're not going to notice a dramatic change. Whereas if I had diabetes or I had problems losing weight because of my energy, I would notice a huge change. But the only thing that I did notice is something that I notice a lot of nutritionists when they say before you start any weight loss thing or any program or anything, you need to take care of this one thing. And it's the one thing that I noticed. Curious yet? I'm thinking in the back of my mind, why am I putting off saying it? Well, there's two reasons. One, because it's kind of an embarrassing subject. And two, because I want you to keep watching. I don't know why. It's just something people do. Whenever I watch things, I wish they'd just come out and say it. But if they just came out and say it, then you would hear it and turn it off and never watch it again. So, what I do notice, as I have noticed, and these are the not symptoms, but these are the effects of drinking, is Jagulanchi. I should show you the package. There's different ways you can take gynostema and different tea companies, but there's this one that I always drink. I'll get it. And I learned about it because it was recommended by somebody else online. It's this right here. It's Spring Dragon Longevity Tea. Trying to make people live longer. Well, I don't know if it's something in my DNA, but my family tends to live to be quite old anyway. And I think I probably will because I'm really young for my age. People are always saying that. When I went to go have my eyes checked for my getting my glasses, well, the very first time the doctor says, you don't need glasses. Both of my parents have glasses. And so they did all these examinations. He says, okay, fine, you do have astigmatism, meaning my eyes, the shape of one of my eyes is kind of off. So the lens is refocused where the light enters so that I can see things differently. And admittedly, when I wear my glasses, they make me a little bit sick because that's not how I'm used to seeing things. He told me, he says, when I got my glasses the very first time, he says, now this is going to give you much better than 20/20 vision, which normal people can see at about 200 feet, what you can see with these glasses. So, I didn't think I explained that well. Anyway, it's suffice it to say, it was better than 20/20 vision because I didn't have a problem. Likewise, I think it was last year at this time, I went to go see a doctor, and he says, well, have you been tested for bifocals? And I was like, bifocals, am I really that old? He says, well, usually people by your age have already been tested, and most of them have them. And I was like, go ahead, check me. And he checked me. He's like, no, you don't need them. He says, you don't have that problem. So, maybe, eventually, it'll be something I'll have to have. And another thing, when I was in my early 30s, I went to go have my hair done. And the lady was like, you don't have gray hair. I was like, do people have gray hair when they're 30? That was crazy to me. And she says, yeah, most people do, she says, but you don't. And I was thinking, well, I didn't think it either of my parents. And then I found out my mom dyes her hair. That's why I was confused. But I thought, well, it's because I wasn't really aware of things that my mother does. I just assumed that she was all beautiful and young. And my mom used to go to the gym with me every day, and she was losing so much weight. She looked great, and she was getting in shape and all this stuff. And well, I wasn't losing any weight and getting in shape at all. It's like, well, even now, it's like I consider doing things with my children. I was like, I can't do that. But I think, well, my mom did it with me when I was in my 30s. But anyway, she's just Wonder Woman. Anyway, enough about that. But so I didn't notice energy, or I was expecting, I have some spider veins on like the underside of my knee, and I was expecting those to go away because with increased oxygen they wouldn't be needed. Yes, they would. It just means the oxygen would be there. I need to lose some fat. That's why I have those extra capillaries. Anyway, but that's not the thing. One of the effects that I noticed, and that I've heard lots of nutritionists talk about, they say before you start this, you need to, and that's probably why there was all that craze about probiotics and stuff, because you need to get your intestinal ecosystem proper. So you want the correct bacteria and stuff. Because, oh, let me tell you, step back just a little bit. When I went to the hospital, I had really bad problems. They were like, well, how often do you have bowel movements? And I was like, about once every 2 weeks or so. And apparently that is not what you should have. And they were getting upset with me because I never had bowel movements. And they were giving me suppositories and all kinds of stuff. And it just didn't work. Anyway, that's one of the things that I noticed when I drink the tea. It's like my stools are a lot softer. I don't have diarrhea, but it's like every morning almost, I'm using the restroom and going number 2. See, that's the reason why I put it off. It's not that I didn't want to tell you what it was. I just didn't want to talk about it. Anyway, so that's the only real thing I've noticed is that it does make me regular. I am going to the bathroom frequently. By frequently, I mean like what a normal person would do. That might be another. There might be more in play there. It might be what, like, polygenetics is when more than what you're aware of is have in play here. There might be more I'm dealing with than just what I'm understanding. And it might be part of my biology. When I was born way premature, and even my lungs hadn't developed yet, is what I understand. So that's all they are aware of. I wonder if it affected my brain in any way. That's what I wonder sometimes. It's like, well, the other thing, and this is getting way too long, but another thing I've wondered about is when you see things or hear things, how do you know it's comparable? How do you know it's comparable? If that's what the word you assign to a sensation, that's what you call a sensation. Of course, the same thing as blue, that they see blue is going to be what I see as blue. But if I use my eyes to see what they saw, it might not be the same thing.
I have premium.
Okay. How did you get it? Did you buy it?
No, I already had it.
Okay.
I actually didn't notice it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so, now I have to jump back into my mindset again. Oh, being premature, and how do I know what I wasn't formed yet? And maybe I wasn't ready because I'm just a little bit slower, a little bit more cautious and careful. Who knows? I might be that way. Anyway.